Welcome back to the M3 podcast. This week we got Dre on from the MMG squad. We got Jamie and Scotty on, both of which I have worked with in the past. Jamie's made quite a few appearances on here. Now I have Scotty on.
What's up, guys?
We're going to have some drinks.
I've also worked with him in case anyone was wondering.
Oh, yeah, Dre did work there.
Yeah, we all
Dre,
actually worked together.
Dre was there.
Yeah.
He was there. Yeah, he was there.
Is that what we're classifying it now?
Yep. So we're classifying as Dre was there. So, but
He did pretty damn good for about a year. Yeah. He was strong.
Still am, bud.
Oh.
Still am.
we got him into taking photos. But
Better. He's really good.
I don't do what?
Oh,
did photos for a little bit.
a little bit.
Nah, I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah, we'll just
Leave
we'll
it
leave
there.
that there. But Scotty, first time on here. Let's deep dive into a little bit of background on you. I know
Sure.
people listening, if you want to find some background on Jamie, he's been on here, what, 3 times? 4?
This before.
You and
4
Gentry
for
came
sure,
on
maybe
like
5.
a couple times together. You did once by yourself.
In the basement.
The basement.
That was sweet.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Came on with Justin.
The big guy. Twice with,
Big guy.
yeah, this is number 4.
It's number
5. This is number 5.
5.
All right. Like a pro.
Number 5.
It'll be there.
I think we're like
I'll be there one
150
day.
podcasts in, so I was actually like,
Is that the highest percentage, you think?
what?
5 out of 150? This is my 5th time.
No, ties 4. Yeah,
Well,
cool.
Gentry. He's got to be close to. For sure, he's 2. And I know he was once before me. He's 3 or 4.
So you're up there.
So
next to a
wise.
famous man. My brother's here.
Well, before this all started, it was us. So
Yeah.
that was there was a day where there was no podcast, there was none of this stuff, and we were all just up slinging some metal in Kearney.
Selling cars, saving lives, man.
Doing the same thing without a camera.
Yeah. It was
Drinking, make fun of Dre.
Yeah.
Same stuff.
good time.
Some things never change.
But
will.
let's jump a little bit into your story.
Sure.
Where do you want to start?
You tell me where you want to start.
I mean, I don't know the full story, so you tell me.
Got out of high school, went right into tech school, Wyotech, for auto body collision refinishing, trim and upholstery. Graduated there, went into Superior Lexus in their body shop, did that for 5 years. Realized I did not like arguing with insurance companies every day.
That does not sound like a lot of fun. I mean, I've never done it, but I don't think I would like it.
Being a 23-year-old kid and telling somebody that their $100,000 Lexus was going to get aftermarket parts put on it, it just didn't. Yeah, so that was fun. Moved over to the service side from there. 2009, I got into sales, and the rest is kind of history. So been doing, going on 16 years now. Done everything from selling to running a dealership to finance to I'm currently the internet sales manager at Gary Crosley Ford, one of them. So yeah, that's kind of
That's a wrap. Got the whole thing closed out. We're good.
That's it.
Look at
That's
that.
it. That's it. Down. Let's drink.
Yep. But so a lot of times when we've had a lot of people on here, we talk about sales a lot. We talk about, I think in our world today, I hate the fact that there are a lot of people out there that look down on the sales industry. I think it's something that isn't prioritized in a college setting, isn't prioritized in a school setting as a whole.
100%.
And it's amazing how many people that I know that went and got college degrees that struggle so much in life and have went from job to job, bounced around everywhere, but then they have a negative outlook on the salesperson that's made a real life for themselves. And I'm saying there's people that can win in both directions.
Right.
But there's also like, what was something that when you were in that body shop and you're like, okay, I'm on to my next thing. Why was sales the opening that you went after?
Honestly, it started with getting a haircut. Literally was getting my haircut one day, and me and the girl Courtney, I think was her name, had a lot of good conversations. And she was like, "Have you ever thought about selling cars?" No, not really. I mean, I'm in the automotive space, but never thought about selling. And she was like, "Why don't you talk to my boyfriend? He's the general manager at XYZ dealership. go up and talk to them and got interviewed. And just the atmosphere, the excitement, the constant change. You never see anything twice the same, you know what I mean, day in and day out. And then the unlimited earning potential, because that's really what it is. There's no cap to what you can make in sales if you dedicate your time to it.
Which I think is a catch-22 in a lot of cases. I think there's a lot of people that think that they're salespeople. And you see it all day, every day. And I think that's a lot of what gives the sales world a bad rap.
Yeah.
Are people that jump in and jump right back out. And you may have a bad automotive sales representative that jumps into the space and does it for 4 or 5 months. They are still going to have customers that come across their plate. They're still going to have people that are supposed to get that world-class presentation. They're supposed to get that world-class car deal. They're supposed to get the follow-up afterwards. They're supposed to get all those things that a true salesperson understands, and they end up getting a half-assed experience, and then it takes it out on the whole industry.
100%.
So I think that's something that when you got into sales, and I know it's something that, once again, people get in, and I look at it as there's people that survive in sales and then they make a career path out of it, and they're always in the same industry line. And there's also people that go in and that they think that they're salespeople. I run into these people all the time. They're like, I'm a salesperson, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you are a lot of talk, but you're not willing to do what it actually takes day in and day out to make that a reality.
Right.
So when you got into sales, you start running. How fast was it that you knew that like you wanted to stick with it, or did you end up in that? I feel like there's a wavering area in sales that you run into.
The first 90 days was really tough because I never sold anything before in my life. This was a whole new genre of things. I fixed cars. I guess I sold service, but that's different than actually selling a vehicle. After that spot, the owner of the dealership kind of took me underneath his wing, really, and it was me and him, like tried and true, through on through. And he took me under wing and just kind of showed me that mindset that you could get into, and go from there. To the moon.
Because I feel like when I got into sales, I would like to look back and say that I would take the same route I would have by myself, but I don't think I can honestly say that.
Yeah.
I stuck in with what the sales path was because my family was tied to it.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I had a much different route than most. Where when I got onto the sales floor, I remember when I first started, I was 18 years old, full of piss and vinegar, most like I thought I ran the world. And my dad,
remember those days.
My dad's like, you're going to call old leads like out the gate. I remember the first day I come in and I'd been listening to Grant Cardone training. I've been doing Joe Verde training in the back. And I was like, I got this. I remember starting to call old leads. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you, like doing cold calls in any industry line, the worst industry line to do cold calls in is the automotive space.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's another line. Like I'm not going to say I've seen it in the insurance world, but I feel like people have a very easy fuck you rolls off the tongue really easy to a car dealer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, I remember getting on the phone, and by the end of the day, I was like a beat puppy. I was literally sitting there, I'm in my new slacks and everything, sitting at this desk. I have a briefcase I put all my stuff in. I remember sitting there, I'm like, this isn't fun. This is not anything of what all this, I thought I was going to be like, people in front of me making deals, doing all this. I'm like, I sat with a phone all day getting told to fuck off. I was like,
I watched 3 movies. This is not what
this is not like the boiler room.
Yeah.
So
it's a humbling experience.
It was the most humbling thing that ever happened to me. And quite frankly, if my dad was not there, I'd have been like, fuck this, I'm out. Yeah. I would have been hit the streets, something else. Like I had way too much ego at the time.
Right.
And like I was so ego driven, like that was me in that world. Like I didn't like being told no. I hadn't ran into that realm.
Yeah.
And so then having that just day over day over day over day, that's a dark area to get in.
Oh.
And it's something that like I feel like people need to experience it because that's where champions are made.
100%.
Yeah. But
that's where it's all made at.
And I remember like when I got my first, like I'd been doing that for a couple weeks, and I remember just the first person I got to come in that I would come to my dad with these deals, and I'm like, I'm like, this person wants to buy a car. He's like pulling them up. He's like, yeah, they're a 400 credit score. He goes, I'll buy anywhere. I'm like, this is the only person. This is the only person that'll talk to me on the phone. I'm like, I need this person bought.
So I was just about to say that, or you finally get the yes all come in and they're like, yeah, sorry.
So what can we do to make this deal happen today?
So I remember taking these deals with my dad one after another that I would get somebody, and I knew every single time I got on the phone and they're like, they're in. I'm like, I would be talking to these people at my house at night. I'm like, okay, so like figuring out something. I was like, if we could come up with some money, like what, could you get a cosigner? I remember sitting in my bedroom at home, like my first car deal, sitting in my bedroom at home, in the back room, like talking to these people, trying to figure out if they can get a cosigner.
I need you to do a credit app online so I can take a look at it first thing when I get in.
I don't have a cosigner. Who would you call if you got arrested?
Yeah. So it was so bad. And it was that experience though, like pressing through it, that I think a lot of people have similar experiences I'm not going to say similar experiences, but like, I feel like my dad put me into the shittiest of shit to see what it's like. Yeah. But I remember getting the first like warm lead that somebody sits down. It's like, they like want to buy something. They want to buy. This is wild. I'm like, like it was.
They don't need a cosigner. Oh my God. This is a deal.
I think going through that made it to where I didn't think selling cars was that hard.
Right.
Because when I saw that people like, I just need to help them and listen to them. And they were already telling me, I'm like, this is what I've been doing on the phone for weeks, just trying to get somebody to tell me what they want. I'm like, you're actively, willingly going to tell me what you want. I'm like, game on. Yeah. And I'm like, so when you first get into sales and you're learning all that, did you run into that crossroads that you're like, I'm going to hang this up, I go do something else? Or was it like true? Like,
no, that was kind of, I figured that was where I was going to go. I mean, yeah, I have a little bit of secondary education with the Votech school, but just seeing that and talking to people, I like to talk to people. Like that's the fun part of the job, is getting to know people's stories, getting to know the background, actually making friends out of the car deals, helping people that have some credit challenges that you've worked with over the past 5 years, and they've came back year over year, traded in, upgraded, and you've helped them create a better life. They come back in, they're like, man, I just got to be able to buy a house. Yeah. Like that's the most rewarding thing you can do. Yeah. 100%.
See, what would happen was I'd come in the summer, I get these new people, and I go full speed, and Jamie would kidnap them over when I was at school, and I'd come back, and Jamie's like, those are my people now. I'm like,
those are mine.
I was like, but I did a really good job.
You did a great job. I appreciate it.
Jamie's like, well, I've been taking care of them
well,
last
you're gone for 9
months.
I was here.
Yeah.
Thanks for setting me up. Appreciate you.
But to that point, I think there's a lot of people that struggle when they go into an industry and they go into any job forefront to burn the ships and say, hey, like there isn't a option B. And that's where like I think where I found success is when I got into the marketing space, everyone's like, he'll be back, he'll be doing this or whatever here soon. But it was like I burned the ships. I'm like, there's no option B.
Right.
I'm like, I remember when I went to Madison, I'd burned through all of our savings and everything. We're sitting in the basement. I'm like, I'm gonna go take all the equity against the house. And she's like, what? I was like, I'm either gonna run this to the bottom of the ocean or I'm gonna take it to the moon. One of the two. I'm like, what I'm not gonna do is just be content.
Yeah.
And it was the best decision I've ever made. But it was that was the burn the ship moment. And I remember the exact moment sitting in my truck where I was at that crossroad. Like I know it almost to the fucking minute. I'm looking at like this way or this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, you look back at those pivotal moments in time. And that's where I feel like you have to have those at some point that you've hit of, what would you say, like when you got into sales, what was that first like set crossroad that you got to that you're like, I remember that moment.
Oh God. There were so many of them. I mean, it's not just one, but I mean, when I first got into it, I was previously married. We had a young family, bills, daycare, food providing, and I just didn't have a choice. It was because I didn't have anybody to fall back on, so it was sink or swim, and that was what it was. I didn't have a choice. It was, we can go bankrupt or we can be poverty stricken. I can work a $15 an hour job. You can work a 15-hour job, or we can go for broke, lay it all out, make sacrifices, put in the time, and go.
And I think a lot of people with that fear, I think with just how people are wired, they run to a safe haven, they run to something that's guaranteed, they run to the path of least resistance. And I think sales is the path of most resistance because you face the resistance all day, every day.
Yeah.
And you become really good at problem solving. I think the best salespeople out there are great problem solvers. I feel that was something since being a little kid, I've always just enjoyed solving problems.
Yeah.
To where when I was selling, no matter if it's been marketing or cars or service or whatever it was just like, I like to help people solve their problems. If somebody has a car,
you learn really fast though. Sales, it doesn't matter what you're selling.
No,
it's all the same.
Yeah,
it's listening to their problem and fixing the problem.
Yeah,
Selling a car, they need a car. You got a car. Sell them a car.
But I think that's where
you got a business. It's not doing great. I got a plan for you. I can probably make it work.
And you have to get creative a lot of times. And I remember getting creative with finance, getting creative with cars.
I remember you getting finance creative.
Like you have to get creative on so many different forefronts that I remember getting deals from other salespeople that they're like this rat can't buy. Like I never used that term. Like I remember hearing these old car guys that would be in there like this rat can't buy. I would sit there and I'd look over those deals, and our dad taught us how to read credit. I would sit there and I'd read through it, and I told my dad, I'm like, can you get me all the information on the banks? He's like, what do you want? I was like, I want the buy sheets and everything. I'd sit at home with these rate sheets and buy sheets, and I'd read them, and I figured out how to navigate a sale further in the front side than the back side, because I watched, like, same way learning how to buy cars. I went to the sale for 6 months before I even was allowed to buy.
Right.
I went and watched, and I was like wasting my time, I thought. But I was really spectating how other people bought. That there was guys that walk up to a car that I knew that I go watch something else because their ego so much in the way that they're taking that car home.
Just gonna stand there with their hand up.
There's dealerships in Kansas City. I can point at that dealership. I go, any car he wants, he's gonna buy it. He's gonna own it.
You buy it doesn't mean he's gonna make any money.
Exactly.
You're an owner.
But it's like I watched how other salespeople navigated, and I watched how fast they gave up on people. And I started figuring out. I was like, I saw what Jamie would do on deals. I did have great mentorship right in front of me on how it was supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And I also had people right in front of me showing me how it wasn't supposed to be done. For as long as you could filter through the weeds and say, hey, this is a yes and this is a no. But then looking at these deals, I'd start looking, I was like, I actually think if somebody calls over the bank, you can sell this deal the right way.
Well, there's a will, there's a way, right? If they're wanting to buy something, I'm wanting to sell them something.
Just because there wasn't a green check mark, that doesn't mean the deal's done. It means pick up the phone and actually start doing your job, explaining to them why this.
I do miss that. Like that part of this business has changed so much because everyone's went to AI and letting the system do it. Where if you can get on that phone, and you got a lot of guys that don't get on the phone. Can get on the phone, you can usually get them to turn something around.
Yeah.
It's just showing them that customer is willing to do whatever that might be.
I will say, in the worst case scenario, if it is a red X, I will say the one thing I know everyone here did different was sit there and guide them on the steps to take to make that a green check mark.
Right.
Where we would all sit
today,
there.
it could be tomorrow. Right?
Yeah.
And it's do these things and we'll get you there.
100%. And I feel like that was one of the more gratifying things for me is when someone came in 8 months down the road, they've changed their entire life.
Yeah.
We've went over like the money they make, how we can budget, stuff like that. So it's like, hey, I know you were chasing this payment. This is going to the car you can get into, but this needs to be 6 months down the road. If we take X, Y, and Z steps, then you can get into that car. And then they come back 6 months and they're able to buy. That it's like that person, truly appreciated everything because that actually changed their life moving forward.
Yeah. Well, that's how you make it from a job to a career, right? It's taking the time, spending with the people, walking them down the road to get to where they can buy whatever they want. And then the great part about that is they only trust you, right? Because you took them from the 400 to the 800. And they can buy what they want. And that's how you build a career out of this and not just a job, right? It's like become a 7-car guy to a 20-car guy. And not have to pick a phone up.
I think that's a huge misrepresentation of people on the outside. They're like, they do sales, they kill it. And then they think they're going to come in the first 90 days, be like, I am the shit.
Well, the thing was, like, every month I would sit there and I watch Jamie, and like when I'm like, I got to knock Jamie off this pedestal.
Good luck.
And I would sit there and I would hustle fucking 10 times harder than him. He'd just be sitting there and he'd be still putting up the car deals. And then I'm like, I'm rounding out to like the end of the month. I'm like, I got these deals. Like, and then Jamie shuts his door for like an hour. And then all of a sudden these dudes just start rolling in one after another, buying all these trucks. I'm like, what in the fuck? I'm like, I've been on the phones nonstop. I'm like, I'm sitting there killing myself trying to be in that. And he's just doing it with ease. But it was like building that book of business that came afterwards. Like I saw that in the long run.
And thank you for giving me that 4 years while you're at college. Head start helped a lot.
But he did it right too, because he didn't switch it up. A lot of people make the mistake, and I'm guilty of it in the beginning. I jumped around, a couple different places until I found a home. Jamie, TDR, you guys, Gary Crosley. That's where I'm at. So, and just being in the same spot for 4 years now. Yeah, going on 4 years. March, geez.
Crazy.
It is. The repeat and the referrals and the trust and just you don't have to you should make the 30 phone calls a day. My bosses are listening, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to, because it's
you do in the beginning when you're starting.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Once you got to take. I did the same thing when I started at TDR. I grabbed that stack of files because we didn't use our CRM like we should have. I grabbed that stack of files and I just started dialing for dollars. It's just call. I was in the sales business before I got into car sales, so I knew how to do it. But you got to put your time in, right? Because it doesn't just
and that's
you don't just show up and here you go.
And I always knew that like Jamie had put that time in. He'd built that book of business, like, and I'd seen it, watching it front center. Like I was a porter. I mean, I was up there taking in a cherry picker, taking down the Chevy signs off that building. Like, wow, Dad dropped me off up there. I was the first person at that building with a cherry picker taking all those signs down.
I scrubbed those floors for almost 11 years.
But it's like,
you did.
So it's like,
They're really bad right now.
Yeah. But it's like,
dude, they lost their best cleaner they ever had.
Yeah, that's true.
But just getting to watch these careers like get established. Like, and I was young too. Like I was watching it from the outside, coming in after school, things like that. And it was just really anything that Dad said needed done or anything that needed done. Like that's what I was doing.
Right.
Like,
Tread out front.
I remember building the ramps out front. Like Dad had a bunch of railroad ties delivered, and he's like, "You need to build these ramps." And like, I could build anything. He goes, "I got you a ton of chainsaw blades and everything." He's like, "You're gonna burn through a bunch of them cutting railroad ties." And he's like, "Make sure you anchor them deep." And he's like, "I'll have the gravel delivered to get it all set." And I was like,
"It's life-size Lincoln logs. Who wouldn't want to do that?"
And that thing's still standing.
It is.
It ain't.
It's pretty damn good.
Those dowels were like 8 feet in the ground. Those aren't going anywhere.
It outlasted the flagpole.
The flagpole.
We didn't put that in. We didn't put that in.
No, but it's also it's important to have a good mentor too. Which, Jamie, I mean, I've grown so much in this business since I met this guy. Just watching him day in and day out, their relentlessness, knowing the market, knowing everything that's going on. Used cars is his gig. There's not a car that he can't put a number on off the top of his head. He doesn't have to look at anything. Maybe there's a few, but
I'm gonna look there to make sure. But
maybe a Cybertruck or something like that. But it's surrounding yourself with the right people. Your dad,
that's what it's all
did
about.
A lot for me. I learned a lot from you too as well. I sent you a text the other day saying how proud I was. So it's surrounded with the right people, listening, kiss it, keep it simple, stupid. Don't know everything. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Those are the big.
That's the biggest pet peeve I got in this business is like, man, it's just watch. So many people have been doing it for so long. They know everything.
So I feel like there's
everything, and they don't want no help. You know what I mean?
I used to think it was just the auto space, and I've really actually started seeing it just because we're in so many different business lines now. And my biggest pet peeve is I had people come into my office that sit in my place of business and tell me that they've been in business for 30 years and they're going to tell me how it's done. They got 4 employees. I'm like, I don't think I would tell people that, like not in a bad way, but they're like, well, I got 30 years of business experience on you. I'm like, I got 40 employees and I've been in business for 4.5 years.
What are you doing wrong?
I got 2 locations. I'm like, I don't think I'd brag about what you've done.
Yeah.
I go 30 years. I was like, I promise you in the next 10, I'm retired. I was like, no questions asked. I'm like, and at that point I'm doing whatever I want. I go, that's building a business. And it's the same thing in the car industry, where my biggest ego that I had in the car industry was at my shittiest point. When I was the worst the whole time in the car space was the biggest ego I had. As I progressed forward and I started learning more and I started listening to people, I put that ego down and I said, hey, it's time to learn. And I'm around a lot of people that can teach me. That's when I started becoming good. And then it's the same thing. I step out into business and I have this huge chip on my shoulder that I thought I was an entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. 2 years, I just fucking lost a bunch of money. That's pretty much all I did. Like, fucking just lost money galore and ran it to the end. And I remember sitting there one day and I'm like, I'm a fucking entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah.
I got a
business. I got an
30 years, 4
LLC,
employees,
blah, blah, blah.
look at me.
And I'm like, I remember watching an Alex Hormozy video and he's like, there's businesses that learn how to scale and he's like, can leverage money and everything. And then he goes, there's small businesses just burn money that never make any money. And he goes, that's not an entrepreneur. I was like, I feel like I'm directly targeted. I was like, this dude's targeting me. I was like, he's talking straight at me.
Looking at me.
I was like,
I'm not there, but he's looking at me through the damn phone.
But it was like, it was eye-opening. Like, it was get with it. Like, I was an employee of my own. That's all I was. I traded one job for another job. And then I was just making less money, realistically. And I took on way more stress. I had more stress, making less money, and losing money. Like, there was no.
That's owning a business.
Yeah. There was no good recipe in the beginning. Like, no glory. But
you stuck with it.
True. And that's where I was going to touch on, like, when you talk about I see it in real estate, I see it in automotive, I see it in a lot of these different industries where people just bounce around. They think they're going to find greener grass somewhere.
Never.
And it's
the money's the same.
yeah. And I think so many people look for an excuse in something other than themselves, that the only person that dictates your success every single day is that man in the mirror that you look at, or female. But it's like,
there's victims and there's winners.
Hey,
yes.
my favorite saying in the world: your raise becomes effective as soon as you do. The businesses are all in. You're the only person that dictates what you get out of it.
Yeah. And
yes, we have bosses, but at the end of the day, we get paid on what we produce. So.
You have entrepreneurs, you have entrepreneurs. And quite frankly, if I went back, and I know our outcome has been great and everything, but what it's put me through to get to here, like, the entrepreneur world is a much better outline for 99% of people. Like,
right.
It's a much better road. There's a much faster path to greatness. Like, you don't have to take on all the stress. You don't have to go figure out payroll. You don't have to figure out employment tax. You don't have to figure out benefits. You don't have to figure out all this other bullshit that takes place.
Yeah.
That was a lot of stuff that, quite frankly, Dre does all that stuff. Like, that is nothing of what I want to do.
That's why Dre's stressed all the time.
Like, that is nothing of what I want to do.
Right.
Like, all the things that came with the business, I'm like, this is not fun.
No, this
I'm
isn't
like,
cool. I'm not
this
playing
is
golf.
not what I signed up for.
I bet Dre would really enjoy this.
I was like, every time something comes up, I'm like, seems like another job for Dre. That sounds like something Dre will get done.
It's called delegations.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I was talking on my story today about delegation, and it was talking about so many people, and I used to be anti-meetings. I used to be anti-processes. And I remember I actually, like, feel bad about working for my dad when I did, because I think I did a disservice to that dealership on I went against him on almost everything because I thought I knew better.
Okay.
When reality, I didn't. I didn't see the full picture all the time. I was looking through Dane's lens that was,
we need to do this.
yeah.
There's a whole this.
Exactly.
Right?
So
Blinders.
it was
Great ideas.
the delegation and the process I had the idea, but I didn't roadmap out how to get to there. It was just like, hey, this is what I want the outcome to be. And businesses fall to the process and systems that they put in place. And that's where we've been so disciplined at MMG this last year that, like, any problem that arises, I see low-level people, car business, when we didn't have a deal closed, instead of us coaching up a salesperson, we just went out and closed the deal. We had capped out pretty much what TDR could do because the amount of time it took us to go out and close deals all the time, which in reality, for that dealership to move forward and elevate where it was, we were looking for external excuses that internally, that dealership could have moved forward if we actually got better at coaching up the closing side, where we could have yielded more of our time to do what we needed to do. But it was the process and the system was broken. And when you have the break in whatever it may be and you inject yourself back into it, that's where I've became so disciplined that anything that breaks in MMG, I do not fix it. I am not the fixing part of it. The system or the process is broken. We have to rebuild that. And there's been points I've went through losing accounts. I'm like, money, I know I'm going to feel it. I'll go raise money and I'll feel it. But I cannot inject myself back in because that is not built for long term.
Right.
So I think that is something that's really hard to swallow and it's really hard to understand. But when you start figuring that out, I think systematically things start happening at a much faster click, much more effectively, much more efficiently, and better actual service for the end consumer. If that's selling cars, if that's selling marketing, if it's selling anything.
Yes.
That
Well,
reality.
If you took the 10 sales guys, let's say, usually we had 6 to 8, right?
Yep.
Let's say you took our knowledge on closing and gave it to all 6, which we try, right?
Yep.
Some people have and some don't. It's okay.
Yep.
It's okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But if you could get it,
I got pretty good, bud.
You did get great. For like
That might be the nice thing. You guys heard it here. It's recorded.
You went from the most. How do I say this?
He was a pretty bad closer on the sales floor.
Hey,
You were everything you did up to the. Hey, would you like to buy this car? Was amazing.
So I will
People loved the shit out of you. But then we're like, hey, let's put him in finance, which is the guy that better be a damn closer because you got about 15 minutes to close these people.
So I will say,
And that's where he did good, though. You thrived. That's what I was trying to get at. You thrived.
no, going back to when we're talking about listening, I think that's when I finally actually started learning how to close, was when I went to the Ron Rehard Finance School out in Utah.
That was a good one, yeah.
And he's sitting there and top of my class. I literally had the best grade in the class. And he's like, I don't care if you learned a single thing while you're here. He's like, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. He's like, shut the fuck up. I was like,
Right.
I literally came back.
We
I
all
think
went through our playbook that we had, right? The Gary Crosby 4 TDR playbook.
yeah, it's like all the playbooks. They go over like
Every
these
person
steps,
I
these
trained,
steps, and it's like-
hundreds and hundreds of people I've trained on that book. And there's one sentence in that whole thing that I talked about, pretty much the only thing I talked about. You become a great salesperson, you become a great listener.
yeah, and
They tell you how to sell.
Which the thing is, I think most people in sales, where I struggled the most in the early side, was I listened to so much stuff that I thought I had to formulate what I was going to say when they were talking.
and then they kept talking. You're like, stop! I gotta get it out. I gotta get it out.
My rebuttal. I've been waiting. I got it. And then they would like stop, and I'm like,
Justin, it's like you remind me so much of Tommy Boy. Like, every sale you have, you like freak the fuck out over it, and it reminds me of Tommy.
Oh, God. I just don't know what I'm going to do. Shit.
I don't know what this is. Like, what's your problem? I was like, I don't know how to get the license plates off. Are you shitting me? Yeah, that's our problem right now.
Yeah.
Shut up.
so it was.
It's so crazy.
But I remember the early days where people would be talking, and I'd be like focusing so hard on like trying to formulate some word track that I learned somewhere how to inject it, and then they would stop talking. I'm like, fuck, I didn't listen to anything they just said.
I didn't listen to anything, and I forgot their name.
Yeah, then they'd be
The worst. Which was my favorite point. So it sounds like to me, you need to get a job, and I'll sell you a car next month once you have the first paycheck. I'll see you next month.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, great news! I'm gonna need your driver's license.
Yeah.
Gotta get that first thing.
Yeah.
Keep that
Yeah.
right on your
Do you
desk.
need a ride over to the DMV to get your driver's license?
Which
I had to do that before.
Oh, yeah.
Which I also think that just comes with confidence after you start like
Sure.
understanding, like, and you have repetition.
Yeah.
After you start getting repetition, like, same thing when we started the podcast. I thought after selling cars, like the same thing I went through selling cars, I went through when we started the podcast, and people would be talking. I'm like, okay, I know what I'm going to say. And then they'd stop. They would keep talking. I'm like, okay, now I got to figure out what they're going to
I
say.
got to quit
next.
drinking bourbon while we're doing this because I
Like,
forgot.
Yeah, I've had too many drinks. This is getting a lot harder to keep track of this.
We're gonna talk about llamas now. We're gonna talk about Gentry's llamas.
Target him on the
I
podcast.
do
like
love
that.
Gentry's llamas, though.
But I still get made fun of
Yeah.
because it's like if you listen to me sell a car, I really don't say anything. I mean, you
Shouldn't
phrase
have to.
things differently and you for different situations, but really don't say anything different to anybody. But it's all genuine too. That's another huge thing I think that's missing in our space that we have. It's coming back around, I think, because you had a lot of the guys that got in with COVID and that thought they
The
were
order
actually,
takers.
yeah, thought they were actually in. They're
Those
starting.
That was a
Cowboys,
mess.
man.
That's a mess.
If they,
I think it's
haven't
still the
gotten out,
aftermath of a mess.
It's still a mess, but it's gotten better. Because, and the sad thing is, with the whole COVID thing, it's like the guys, and really, I just noticed it when we got there, right? It's because there's just so many more of them, so you got to see it, and you start building a little bit of relationship, and then there's a couple of them like they're gone now.
That should be there.
There should be there. They're salesmen, right? And they went somewhere else because they're like, what the fuck? I'm making 20 grand a month, and now I'm making 10. But let me tell you
Look at
something.
the
That's
shift.
still damn good. 19 and before that, right? You can't just throw keys and sign papers anymore. You actually have to talk to these people and
Yeah.
find the issue that they need solved,
Yeah.
and relate with them, right? It was very for 4 years there was no such thing as a salesperson. It was just an order taker, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It was the
you don't like
first
that
time.
price? Okay, great. Let me get this guy right here.
It was
right?
the first time I think, and
I tell
anybody
you-
listening can correct me if I'm wrong. You guys can too. But I don't think in my lifetime, and I think before that, even hearing from other people, I don't think there's ever been a time in history where inventory was more valuable than customers.
100%.
And it was something that it flip flopped like heavy. And it was like, I think a lot of dealers just abandoned ship and they jumped ship on customers and they went so heavy into inventory was more important. And it was like, we saw it from the marketing space. That's why we pivoted, which it's the best thing that ever happened to us, getting to pivot to diversify what we do.
Right.
Because in the beginning, we were just planning on doing dealerships. And as we diversified, we figured out other business lines. We started figuring out all this other stuff. It helped educate us.
We
But
learned
it was-
we learned a lot during COVID because the thing is like we knew how to sell cars. That's what we knew. Where we can market selling cars, and then all of a sudden it's like
we don't
okay,
need your help marketing. selling
dealerships
cars.
don't need
Yeah.
help selling cars. We're like, what do we do? What do we do? It's like how can we make your cars look better than other dealerships so they click on your cars? So
But-
we pivoted.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
perfected that.
And it was like, that's one thing to help. But the other thing too, that I figured this out and I've noticed it when we've gotten around big business players, smaller businesses, and I'm talking smaller businesses, even with 100 employees or 150 employees, like there's still a smaller business model that sits there and they will cut so many fixed expenses that should always be there. Economy, if some crazy thing happens, like Coca-Cola doesn't all of a sudden sit down, they're like, you know what? We should cut all of our marketing expense. That sounds like a good idea. Like $5 billion a year, let's just cut it back. Like,
Where in turn, they're like, all right, we're spending $5 billion on marketing. Economy's bad. We're spending 10. Right?
so you
They're
get a
gonna
different
double it
deal.
down.
Or there's the people too that look at it, and this is the way I look at it, is like I see all these other marketing companies when they hit the lull of like October, November, December, January, they pull back. And I double down.
Push forward.
But it's like, it's a fire sale. And it's like market share, that's what you're buying is market share. You look at the biggest players out there, they're buying market share. I saw all these dealerships pull back on everything they've ever known to go play this lean greed game of just, we don't have to pay for anything that we used to. All of a sudden they start I saw salespeople's pay structures getting adjusted everywhere. They start adjusting managers' pay structures because they're like, you guys are making too much. I'm like, you're making money too. Like you're based off of a percentage. Like if I'm paying
like,
somebody a percentage,
you're
like
taking 60% of
In
it.
that
What are you going to
4
be mad about?
years, that industry went back 40 years. I
It
mean,
did.
it
It's like
honestly,
we're
it
starting
went,
all
it
over
really
again
went
when-
back to, it took it to where, because the industry is so transparent now. I mean, the internet pricing, everything, Carfax is, you can't really hide anything anymore. And if you do, you're a shitty person. But back, I mean, it took it from where we were in 2019 and starting to kind of get that space, get that trust. We're not scum of the earth. And then 2020 hit. And like you said, it took us back to the 80s. Everybody was like, oh, money.
it really was. And
Yeah, it was bad.
the funny thing, I'm talking to dealers. I have dealers reaching out and they're trying to and we're not some monster expense. Like we're something that I'm like,
Right.
you're paying a manager twice what you're paying us. I'm like, and marketing is normally a pretty heavy expense for most businesses, and as it should. That's what drives your business in. I'm like, and you're making more money than you ever have, and you're bragging about it to us. Once again, this is that ego card that's being played.
Right.
And they're talking about how much money they're making per copy and doing all this stuff, but then they don't want to spend any money on marketing. I'm like, keep going the direction you're going, because all I'm watching is a burning ship.
Yep.
I'm watching a burning ship, and it just hasn't sunk yet. Because what's going to happen is it will sink. And I've watched it with dealerships all around Kansas City. And I'm like, I know a lot of people in the car space. Like, it's amazing how small the car world really is.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
you watch it like, and I'm like watching it from the outside, and we picked up all this business over here. I'm like, we don't even need this. I'm like, but we can watch it. I'm like, we're like watching it. I'm like,
watch this
Desperate
shit,
Housewives.
Watch this shit.
Well, we
We're
went
like
into a
watching that
dealership
shit.
and we sat there and we talked to him, and the owner wouldn't even come talk to us. They're like, yeah, we don't need your guys' help.
yeah.
And the fact that they sold 2 cars and it's like the 27th of December, 2 cars. I'm like, they have a building.
This is recently?
I'll name drop them. It
Oh.
was ARC down in North Kansas
Oh.
City. So we went in, talked with their GM. Their GM
Damn, I
says,
should have bought that building. Damn it.
Yes.
GM says,
That'd been a good building.
he goes, we don't need any marketing. Owner actually won't even come sit down with you guys. I go, I've been watching your inventory for the last 45 days. I go, you've told me you've sold 3 cars. I go, I know all your cars are floor plan. I know that curtailment check's going to be called in about 90 days. I go, I wasn't watching for that 45, so I'm assuming some of that inventory is older. So realistically, I go, moving those numbers and you guys aren't running stuff to the auction, I go, your doors are going to be closed in the next probably 30 to 60 days. And the guy looks at me, he goes, no way. He's like, we've been here for blah, blah, blah. And starts
like,
giving me
owner
this whole
hasn't
pitch.
really been discussing
And-
you.
Yeah, you've been in
either.
business for that long, but I remember when you I remember when you were on a trailer on Vivian,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, and then you.
So
Yeah.
once again, I'm standing there watching the burning ship. Like, I understand how the car space works. I understand those cars are floored. I understand they're going to call those checks, and they're not going to be able to pay for them.
Yeah.
And guess what? No shit. We drive by like, I think it was like 30 some days
Yeah,
later,
it
and we
wasn't
drive by. I
bad.
was like, oh, it was less than 60.
Damn,
I
it
was
wasn't
like,
right. I was 30 days
But you know, it's
early.
just like you were talking about as an entrepreneur and entrepreneur, and it's
Yeah.
because they did make that shift, and they
Yeah.
got this huge big building, service department. You've got to account for those expenses.
Yeah.
If
Well, that's also
Lit-
about buying inventory, because they had like Mitsubishi's, Rangers sitting out front, like older Rangers, and then on their showroom they have a $120,000 Tesla Plaid.
Yeah.
We're like, what? Who's
But
your client
the,
here?
The other thing too, though, I watch on a lot of businesses, scale is not a bad thing. Scale is a great thing, but you have to understand how to scale all of it. If you want to scale employees, you have to understand how to scale acquisition of business. If you want to scale acquisition of business, you have to understand how to scale employees. They're 2 pillars that run side by side. And you have to be able to run those parallel if you want the whole operation to work. To where it's, for the longest time, everyone asked me like why we didn't plug a sales team in earlier. It was because I knew if we plugged in a sales team in, I had no earthly idea how to staff up that fast. I didn't know what our processes looked like to scale that fast.
Right.
Fast forward, we put one thing on. I remember it was October. We're sitting there, beginning of October, and we've been discussing a sales team. We put up a Instagram story on Content People, and we have fucking 15 people in a matter of like 3 hours that are coming in for interviews. I go, boys, we fixed our problem. I go,
Yeah.
this is fixed. We can scale as fast as we want now. I was like, now when we need people, we can put an Instagram story up and we can have 30 more people here ready to work that are A players tomorrow. So now, really at that moment, we hit that story. The following week, we were looking at a second location. I've funded the money. I went and found all the money to open up a second location and cut no corner to do so, because now we can scale the acquisitional work side, and as we need the employment side, we can get it as fast as we need.
Yep.
But you have to pay attention to both sides of it. There's so many people that figure out one or the other. If you can't figure out how to work them together,
Yeah.
You're done.
You're right. It's a very hard thing to find good employees, but it's a very hard thing to find an employee in general. But if you go buy a bunch of employees, doesn't mean you're gonna get a bunch more business.
Yeah.
It just means you got a bunch more freaking headaches on your head.
Yeah.
Now I got to train these 10 people, right? And that's how we've been in this business forever. Is we'll hire 10 people so I get 2, right?
Yeah.
could work that better, and there is a way to work that better. And like you said, it's why do we not go out there? Why do we not hit the socials? And hey, we're the #1 Ford dealer in the state of Missouri. We're #2 in the whole Midwest.
But it's
why would you not want to come here? Why don't we go put those videos out? We do it for fucking, oh my God, it's 1% on fucking Ford Rangers this month, right? Well,
the thing is,
do that for employees.
Also, I've always looked at it as there's a facet to that too. That, you know what's funny is every time we put out that we're looking for employees, you know, we normally get like 3 to 4 accounts off of it.
Yeah, of course.
Guess what? It shows growth. It shows scale.
Because you're
I don't
bringing
have
people with
to.
you.
Yeah, I don't have to. No, it's business owners that are watching, people that are watching from the outside. You get to a spot where you don't have to tell them you're winning anymore. They're watching.
They're watching you.
They're watching it all day, every day. When they see that we open up a second location, it's not like, man, we just want fucking space to hang out. Like, nobody thinks of that as just like, yeah.
When is the Fantasy Factory coming?
It's going to be closer than you think, just so you know. But it's like,
It already has a tentative date, but that can't be released.
Yeah. Okay.
but the thing is, like, that's way closer than we actually think. Like, the thing is, though, when you're putting those things out and you're putting out growth and you're looking for staffing and you're looking for people, human psychology, anybody that's watching is understanding that if you need more people, if all this is happening and you guys are growing, that means business is good.
Yeah. People want to deal with winners, right? So.
Winners deal with winners. And it's like, it's something that I run full speed at. I've had people come in and literally sit in our lobby and they're like, well, I think the car and the truck and everything is a little bit flashy, blah, blah, blah. I get up and I'm like, I shake their hands like, I don't think this would be a good fit. And it's like, if you can't cheer for someone else to be successful, I promise you will never find success yourself.
100%.
We've had people or clients that hyper focus like, well, you guys have all this good success. I'm like,
Okay.
why are you focusing on our company? I'm like, we're here to help you. And I'm like, we're giving you every avenue to help you grow your business. And I'm like, and you're not taking the lifeline.
But the thing is, success is found secondary to someone else's success. So that's how I've always looked at in the car space too. My success was found being better at making the people's car experience better. Right. That's how I became more successful.
Yeah.
When I did a phenomenal job, and you can look at it as a car deal as being successful. Somebody came in, when they leave and they said that was the best car experience I've ever had. That was the most stress-free car buying experience I've ever had. I felt like I was at home. When you get all of those, that's a success. So guess what? Then when you follow up a day later, you follow up 7 days later, you get them back in for service, you cover their first oil change, you do all that, and you've done all of your follow-up correctly, then you've earned the right to ask for referrals. Most people will text somebody fucking 30 days later. They haven't said a goddamn word to them. They're like, hey, you got anybody else wants to buy a car?
Yeah,
Like,
shit.
Dude, that's like,
Hey, it's Jamie. Remember I sold you a car 3 months ago. You got anyone else that's looking for one?
like,
I talked to you for 25 minutes, bro.
It's one of my biggest pet peeves. It's a saying that I say to a lot of my customers too. It's I did you a disservice if I just sell you one car.
yeah.
Because I didn't do my job correctly and I didn't serve you correctly either. I want to be the guy that you tell your family about, that your family comes to see me. That
That's exactly what I say. Weird.
So
Wonder who I wanted. Good job, bud.
So
And I'll tell them like this: I don't need to sell you this car.
yeah.
I want to, so I can show you what I can do down the road.
So
But I don't need this one deal.
I tell clients that all the time we don't need one client. Like the best outcome of us partnering with a client is what they're getting from us. Our success comes secondary from the companies that we work with.
Right.
If they're successful, we become more successful. Like our company drives from the success of the companies we work with. 100%.
Right.
It's like, that's where I see just so much in the car world, like kind of overlapping, understanding what that car process looks like, understanding what the sales process looks like in the marketing world. And I don't know if this stat is right, but I was told this from one of my first few sales managers, that he told me that a customer to a dealership, if you catch them at 18 years old, in the lifetime of them buying cars, everything. So my head when I came in the dealership was 50-plus-year-old Dane owning TDR. That was like my thought process. And Jamie and I talked about being old and sitting in rocking chairs and stuff on
We talked about that.
a bunch of land.
Yeah.
And then we're like, dude, when we make it, we're just gonna buy a fuck ton of land where we don't see a building anywhere. And we sit in these rocking chairs and we drink beers. Like
Yeah.
that's what
Were
we
you-
do. Like that was
Just you two out there?
that was pretty much our idea at that point.
It's okay.
I think
buddy.
you were still in
You were
college.
s-
You
I
were
think
gonna
you were
go
still-
try to
No,
get
I'm
nurse.
not even asking about me.
You
I'm
were
just-
still being immersed, yeah.
No, it was pretty much just the two of us. Like that's pretty much our thought process on the whole
I
thing.
mean, we were still gonna have wives. Is that what you're asking? But
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
No, it's 2025, man. I wouldn't ask that.
yeah.
But
Good for you guys.
I remember
Whatever.
I remember one of the
Whatever.
first
It's 2025. Just relax, bud.
yeah, calm down over there. Seems super judgmental. But
Damn, bro, I've even grown. Stop.
You brought it up.
you guys are drinking Mick Ultras.
With the bourbon chaser.
Yeah.
Or
But
McAllister.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
I
Carry
remember
on.
getting told that person, if they buy it 18 years old, is worth like $426,000 to a dealership in their lifetime.
Don't doubt it.
So me, I'm mathing up like 426 multiplier. I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's a lot of money.
I need 1,000 of these fuckers. I'm good.
So my whole way of doing everything is like, if I can figure out what one is valued at, I can figure out what I can do in 12 months, and then I can reverse engineer what I have to do weekly, daily to yield that.
We saw
And then
that all the time.
I started figuring out what it took, like
Figure
5
out
years.
what
10
a no's worth.
Yeah.
If you figure out what the no's worth, this fucking business is so easy. It's not even fun.
I
But then
started
Dane's
doing
like, I
that,
sold this guy in Texas. I don't know if he's coming back.
but I started doing
It
that,
equals into it though.
and
100%
I remember
100% it does.
that outcome though. Why that person was worth that was what they would do with service with the dealership, their referrals that they would send the dealership,
Yeah.
their kids buying from the dealership, all these different
Yeah.
outcomes. And I was like, I have to be aces every deal, because when I'm selling a car and I may be making $500, to me, I'm thinking 426,000. Like
Yeah.
I remember selling cars, I'm like, boom, 426,000. I'm like, but I never even thought of someone buying somewhere else after they sat down with me.
Right.
But I truly believed when I texted them the next day, I called them 7 days later, I called them a month later. I truly believe that they had experience that they weren't getting anywhere else. I truly cared about
And you're
what,
about 95% right.
but
There's about 5% of career salespeople that do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a very minute group of people that understand what that means, and they take care of it. Like
Yeah.
the number one car salesman in the world, literally that's what he does. His customer does not see a service department, period.
Yeah.
He has people that get the car, they handle the car. They will not ever walk into a service department.
that's
But
hospitality.
all their cars are handled, right?
Yeah.
All those that guy's friends and families, every customer he has come to him because of the stuff they do. We have a guy there. Scott does that stuff. I do that stuff. You did that stuff. Trey did that stuff. It's what the difference between a salesperson is and someone that's in sales.
I honestly get insulted if my customer calls the service department
Oh, yeah.
before me.
Why would you never?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Call me. Let me go through the headache
So-
of you
You
having to do
earn
that.
my keep to ask you for.
I remember when I first got my front office, I was sitting up there. The first thing I did was order nicer business cards, because I remember every time when people would close a deal and they'd be out front, I'd go out and shake their hand. I wanted to shake a hand of every person I was leaving. And I remember when I go out there, I ask them, I go, can you please leave us an honest review? I never asked for a 5-star review. Never once. I asked for an honest review. I said, here's one of my cards. If there's anything that we can do better to increase the experience, feel free to call or text me. It would be amazing how many 5-star reviews we'd get. And then somebody would text me separately about, hey, I think you should do this, this, and this. But it was those kind of things that moved the needle forward.
Oh yeah.
And it was, when I first got plastic business cards, like it was something that people did not get rid of. I remember people get a flat tire in Columbia and call me and they'd be like, hey, I got a flat tire. I'm like, it's 9:30 at night. You know, the first person to call was me.
I'm hopping on Google right now looking for a tow truck.
I got you a tow
And that's
truck.
what you do. Yeah,
But
let
that's
me
what I
know
do.
find out.
Whatever. We'll tow it to you. We'll get you handled. Come by tomorrow. We'll get you a car. Don't worry about it.
It was
We'll handle it.
it was amazing how many times you're handling like their most tragic thing in their life. You're the person that they call.
Yeah.
To where it's like they're calling you and you're like, yeah, got it handled. And it was like when I first met Madison at college, I remember the first time she got a flat tire, it was like the most devastating thing ever.
I remember it too.
I was like,
I do remember it.
I was like, yeah, we jacked it up, threw the tire in the back of my truck. We went up to Casey's. I grabbed the tie down, tied it around, and just popped the bead. I pop it back on bead. I get it back on, take it back to her car, put it back on, tighten it back up. She's like, how do you know how to do this stuff? I'm like, Jamie and I do this shit in the service drive. I'm like, we're the service guys.
After 5 o'clock, we become
that
service.
we used to do at TDR.
Allegedly.
Actually, when we started,
There was no service.
service.
The
I
service
remember
drive
that.
was all ours.
Yep, I do.
Wait,
remember that.
just hold on a second. We got this.
I'll pull it back in service real fast.
Yeah.
We'll get
I'll get the
can
tech
you help
on
me?
it.
We call
I
it
also
service. There's
need
no
to
one
use
back there. It's just a big building and
And
a
we got some
Walmart
tools.
fucking ratchet set. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, we have no parts, but
I think it's the
luckily
battery.
O'Reilly's
Let's
at Palm
start
Hill,
there.
so
Put
we'll
it in the
figure it out.
battery.
Yeah,
But no, that was
I missed those.
But I think
Dude,
that's where we
God,
get
they're fun.
circle back around. I think that goes back to the problem solving of TDR in the
he
beginning
circled that
days.
way back around.
No,
like an
TDR in
hour,
the beginning
yeah.
days, especially for you, Jamie. Like we weren't selling yet, but it's like that was 100% just problem solving.
I was
I don't even know
selling
if
some
that
junk too.
Yeah,
No,
he was there. He was there with.
I remember being broke off.
I
I'm sitting on the side I-35. I'm like calling
Yeah.
Jamie. I'm like, hey, you need to come pick us up.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, so, hear me out. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not going to say I am. I'm not going to lie to you. But I have no earthly idea what's wrong with this.
Every
But-
fucking day of my life for the first 2 years of my fucking car.
But we get this back to this. Get this back to the. I'll get it in service. Service that's imaginary back there.
Yeah.
It was Hunt's next door.
Yeah, it was.
I'm like, we get this
We're
back.
gonna
Has
drop
a
it
big
off.
sign that says service.
Yeah. I didn't take that down.
Pulled in, drive it out the other side, pulled over to Hunt. We need your help right now.
What do you think's wrong with this? It's sputtering. I don't know what's going on.
A lot of gas.
Yeah.
Damn it. I knew it was gas.
Yeah.
Always gas.
got
for
no
battery.
gas
Always
in it.
gas for battery.
Yeah. I remember when we would be selling on the side of the road trying to figure out like what's wrong. And we didn't have nice cars in the beginning. And like, I'm not going to lie about that. Like, we were selling junk cars, but it was like they were cheap price tag. And then I remember I was like, it progressed. These guys would be going out, and I'm like, you guys have full tanks of gas. I'm like, do you know the value in that? I'm like, I remember how much I spent a month in gas. I'm like, I had a card that had, I'm like, I got $45 in my bank account. I'm like, pull up to the gas pump.
Yep.
And put 10 in.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm like, that'll get us to hold back. I'm like,
They wanted to drive a diesel.
Oh,
No.
shit. Look at that. Hey, take a left out of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Take a left.
yeah, just go up to
See
one
those
front to
see that
back.
roundabout? Come back.
So I know we didn't get above 30, but what are your thoughts?
What do you think? You like it? Yeah.
You want to take
So
gas?
I-
I'm having a company car.
That goes right back to it's like those are real problems that I think like people coming into sales now. It's like one, they'll probably never experience that, but two, that's something where it's like, yeah, we can laugh at that now. But it's like at that point you're like, is
Oh,
this
it's
the
so
right-
detrimental.
Yeah. You're like, I can't sell nothing. All the cars have problems. But that's an external way of looking at it, as like everything's going against you.
Which at that point, it would have been really easy for me because I'm sitting there like, once again, super confident. I'm like, I'm selling shit cars. I'm calling shit leads. I'm getting told fuck off every day. And I'm like, I feel like I can sell anywhere. You know, like, yeah, why am I doing this? I'm not even getting good leads. And it was just like, but going through those times, sitting back in service, putting batteries in cars, working on just selling on the side of the road, taking those cold calls every day, like that made it to where, fast forward, what most people see as norm, I was like, you know that greener grass that you guys are looking for? This is it.
Yeah.
This is super green.
Yeah.
Super green grass over here.
This is a grain field, man.
Yeah. But we did get a little off topic there, Scott. I think
It's
we
all-
were
yeah.
like 45 minutes ago.
What
Just-
city were you actually born in?
Yeah.
Ah.
Whoa. Yeah. We're back to the story time.
So, grew up in Lenexa, Kansas. Jesus,
We're
just
just gonna
go
jump
right back to
dive
it.
right back in. James gonna come
My
out.
best friend was Jim when we were 7.
Yeah.
Uh,
God, I miss you guys.
Yeah.
This is
Cheers, man. Glad you could be on.
yeah, let me
Yeah,
fill
I
my
appreciate it,
drink
yeah.
back up. So
this used to be daily.
yeah, for real.
And I also say I think in sales everyone thinks you just grind 24/7, which in the beginning, it is a grind. But
It's always a grind.
You know, the funny thing is when you're good at sales, you feel like you never work.
dude, 100%.
Yes.
Like it's actually something that
When my closing percentage in finance was the highest it was, I was sitting there and I'm like, and
I think you
I'm
get
boxing up all my deals, sending banks, like calling banks, doing like the whole front and back of the deal the second it came to finance to sending it out. And I was sitting there, I'm like, I feel like I work like 2 hours a day. I'm like, I feel like 6 out of the days I'm not really doing much, but I'm making more than I ever have. I'm like, I don't get it.
you become more, I think, diligent with your time, and then also when it becomes something that I think it's an art form when done correctly. But once again, it's talking to people. Like I love talking to people. It fuels me up. Like we've done personality tests with MMG. We have personality consultants come through actually, and there's people that like the introvert and the extroverts. Like there's people that it fuels them up. Like as the day goes, like I come home and I'm like podcasting at night. Mass is like, how do you do this? She goes, you've been talking to people all day long. She goes like, I literally jump in my truck. I'm like, who can I call? I'm like,
You're like
my
riding
truck.
a high where it's like,
Yeah.
if things just keep happening, good or bad, it just keeps happening. And I feel like those days you sit there, you get in your car, you head home. It's like the second I get to the house, it'll be like 7:30. I'm like, I feel like I've been at work for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But
It's
it's
the
I'll
best
get it.
feeling in the world because then you get to come home and you're on a high and everything's good. You're in a good mood. Have a couple drinks, call a couple buddies, have some good conversations, plan for the future.
You know how many times I've sat at night laying on my floor somewhere around my house? That's where I tend to take phone calls. I don't know why. But then I'll just like lay on the floor somewhere. And then I just like, I'll talk to Jamie for 2 hours. I'll come upstairs and Matt's like, she's like,
I did not know that. But that's cool.
She's like, what have you been doing? I'm like talking to Jamie. She's like, you've talked to people all day. That you came
I
up
was
to talk
laying on
to
the
every-
floor next to the water heater in the basement, talking to Jamie.
It's like,
It puts the lotion on his skin.
like, I remember one night Gentry called. And I talked to Gentry for probably almost 5 hours. It was like 1:30 in the morning.
Gentry was in the shop.
Yeah, and
He
it was like,
he was having some bourbon also.
and we sat there and like he's like, you having a drink? I was like, no. He's like, you should get one. I was like, okay. And so we're sitting and just on speaker and we talked for like 5 hours. And like I looked down my phone. I'm like, bro, we've been on the phone for 5 hours. He's like, I don't think that's that much. I was like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. He's like,
We almost spent a full working day on the phone.
but it's just like, I get in the truck and like today I'm going to place, like one after another. And I'm just like thinking of clients that we work with. And I'm just calling them in between. I'm just like, hey, what's going on, man? Like checking in with them, like seeing what's happening. Like I'm friends with all these people. Like, and it's like, I think that's the coolest thing too, is the amount of people that message me Merry Christmas and Happy New Year still to date that I sold cars to.
Yeah, that's fun.
Is still like wild. Yeah. And it's the amount of people that reach out to me just for like my input on a car deal that Jamie was
We
working.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Jamie was working on one. I was like, he's like, well, I found this one. It's like $500 cheaper. I go buy it here. I go, are you going to service your truck with Jamie? He's like, yeah. I go, so you're going to go save $500 on the car deal. I go, you know the peace of mind you're going to have if you buy it from him and you never have to worry about that? I go, he's going to take care of you 10 times over after the car deal. That's going to be worth way more than $500. I promise you. And then finally I was like, you know what? Realistically, I go, if you leave to go drive to pick up that other one, I'll give you the $500 difference. He's like, what? I go, I believe in him that much.
Yeah.
I go, I worked side by side with him for 11 years. I was like, go there. I go, and I promise you it will be the best choice you ever make. And then literally like a week ago, he saw me. He's like, man, I'm really glad I listened to you. I was like, I have no skin in the game. Like, I've helped with so many car deals. I've never picked up a referral anywhere. I don't do it for money. I just do it because I truly want people taken care of.
Yeah. It talks a lot about the integrity at this table, though, because there's not going to be a time where any of us will hit the FU button on a customer.
Oh,
No.
I mean,
Even when we want to.
No, trust me.
Even when we want to.
We
We don't do it.
We're not going to.
I remember being at college at parties.
There's one
and stuff.
person I would hit that few, but
I have maybe a handful of people.
yeah, the guy from Kearney. We you know.
We're not going to fully target him on here, but
Should we?
I don't think.
I don't know. He's a piece of shit.
There's a couple of them.
Does he drive a white F-150?
His last name starts with a G.
I don't think he ended up buying.
He never bought. He couldn't buy.
He couldn't
Oh
buy.
yeah.
There's actually.
I thought you were talking about the.
I know.
Don't
who,
actually drive the truck.
I know who you're talking.
See it the other day. I was like,
yeah.
wow, he still drives that. Truck.
That's what I was. That's what I was thinking.
And he was. It's not. He's just a wear out, but whatever.
There are times you gotta fire your customer, but
Which the great thing is, like, our industry line, I've actually became really good at firing people. Like, I became.
I hear him every morning. I'm like, okay, whatever. I guess
I'm
like,
really
fuck
like,
that guy, but whatever.
I've gotten to a spot that I enjoy my job so much. I enjoy getting up, driving into work. I'm excited every single day. I'm excited with the people I'm around. The people that I'm around are excited to be at work every day. I'm not going to let a single client mess that up.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
No.
Like, it's really not. Like, what we have going as a company is not worth a single client anywhere.
I mean,
anyone wants to try to fuck that up.
clients are family too, right? And it's so when you build your force, it's. I mean, especially in our business, we're together more than you know how it is. We're even with you guys. You guys are together more than you're with your families.
Yeah.
You better want to be together.
100%.
And so, especially with your guys' business, for sure, you're way more intimately involved with them.
Yeah, and you're talking with these clients all the time, and it's like, I want it something where I tell clients, I'm like, there's a problem, like whatever it is, like if you think there's something we can be doing better, like I want to know. Right. And it's like we're implementing full live reporting, like we've been working on, like we've implemented all these new things, and it's like, but it's the feedback from clients that we have, and it's not all of them. There's some clients that won't ever look at a day of fucking reporting that we put out there.
right.
And it's like, that's fine. There's that group. But in the early days, I'm like, I'm just building off that guy. I'm like, I like what that guy's outlook is. I'm like, that's not everybody.
He doesn't need reporting. You guys don't need reporting.
Well, I just love the fact, like, the parties we have from the podcasters, right? Yeah. I mean, shit, me and Dre are bullshitting. There's two guys on the other side. This is what, a month ago, maybe 2 months ago.
About a month ago.
And we're sitting there at the office and BSing, and he's talking about how one of the Yamaha dealers down at the lake going over there. I'm like, shit, I need to go buy that. I need to go buy Yamaha because my CD's on track. And he's like, where'd you get that? He's like, oh, I happen to own that place. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just not that guy. I'm not going to call you a bitch. And now it's being taken care of. And like, it's because of the relationships y'all built and that we all build together and feed each other. It's just cool ass thing.
But going back to that same instance, it's the people that we surround ourselves with, and I believe a lot of I don't really like calling them clients because it's like, one, I'd probably go hang out with anyone that we work with and go have drinks with them any night of the week. Right. I enjoy all of them, which is surprising to say all of them because it's like usually there's one or two, but it's like every client we have, I actually truly enjoy.
I don't think you can pick out a single client of ours that you couldn't sit at this table and just blend right in.
Right. That's awesome. But you guys make sure of that.
Yeah.
Right. There's a huge world out there of business owners.
Yeah. There's 50,000 business owners in Kansas City.
Yeah. We're going to work with these, right?
Yeah.
Because we click, right? They get it. And what's cool is how much we all intertwine together. Like, we have a client that I was talking to yesterday and talking about fancy washes like that. We get in, we just BS, but we all intertwine together. And it's your customer.
Yeah.
It's not even my customer. I'm trying to make him my customer, but he likes GMCs, and I'm trying to tell him he's wrong. But one day he'll come over to our side.
Sounds like a smart fella.
Sounds suspicious.
One day he'll come over to our side. I mean, I'm just saying. I just got to find a 25 used one, which I'm working on right now for him.
It is a divided table here.
It really isn't, per se, as much as we work.
We
work at the Ford dealership.
Yeah, but
there's 3 GMC owners. You do have a Ford, I guess. I should.
The other thing too, though, is like I look in today's world that, I mean, all of the domestics are so close now.
Yeah,
they are. It's really just personal preference.
They're all pretty solid.
Yeah,
you can't go one and be like, yeah. It's not a Mitsubishi Mirage.
For the longest time.
Okay.
Wow, just hard talking at the Mitsubishi.
I'm just saying.
What up? Just straight to the jugular.
Buy a car for $13,900. I mean, what do you expect?
I mean, I would.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If I fitted a Mirage, I'd buy one. I'm not gonna lie.
You know,
On bicycle tires, I feel like that's
If I
just
fit in it, I just don't fit. So.
Jamie,
The
you know
smart
what?
cars. I remember the smart cars on the platform.
Smart cars are our favorite.
Don't bring up smart
I remember
cars.
the
bro.
smart cars on the platform.
Mhm.
I don't
Remember
think,
you in one.
I don't. You know,
Him-
the
him
amount of
and,
fun we
David-
had, I think is
Yeah.
priceless. I think how mad
Jamie
it made
and
my
David
dad.
in that
Well,
smart
you
car.
couldn't even go wrong. I mean, you had $5,000 into a $20,000 car. Where can you do that,
Dude, that's what I said. That's when we're at the sale.
Guys, there might be a reason.
We're all standing there. Boyan's like standing there with us, and then these like smart cars come. And the first day, I think there's like 5 of them. We're 6. I don't know. Like there's a set of them that comes through, and I'm looking at Boyan and Jamie, and Boyan's like, I'm gonna buy these, and I was like, I'm gonna buy some too. And Jamie's like, don't do that. Like, don't do
I
that.
think there's
He's
six.
like,
Don't do
he
that.
goes, your dad's not gonna be happy. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. And then the first one, like, there's like nobody at the sale.
And it's always the same.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it.
It's just like that. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
So boy, like the first one goes through, boy buys it. Next one goes through, and Jamie's like, dude, don't do this. Like, I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm like,
I'm gonna do it.
what's the worst? We buy 3 of them at fucking 5 G's a whack. It's $15,000. Like, we can't fuck up that bad. And
Worst we could do is 15,000.
Worst we can lose is 15 grand.
Yeah.
we were buying it back at MMR. Like, you don't hear of buying a fucking less than $10,000 car back at MMR. Doesn't happen.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't give a fuck that they're smart cars, and they're pulling through. I'm like, I buy the next one, Boyan buys one, we go back and forth, and we get back to when those things all come rolling in. I remember Dad walking out back and coming unglued.
That's when I just took
Like-
my door. I shut it. I'm like, I want no part of this.
So Boyan gets his, and we buy him for like $5,000 a piece, and Boyan lives his for like $9,900 a piece. Like he priced them like pretty much right at $10,000, and I priced mine at like $8,900. And he's like, "Hey, bro, you need to up those." Like,
Yeah, raise-
he's
Raise
like,
the prices or I'll buy you out of them.
He goes, well, at first he's like, just raise it a little bit. I'm like, dude, I'm 8,900 is like right market, 500 miles. I'm a market leader at that. And he's like, all right, I'll put mine at 8,900. Dad goes in there like fucking 4 days after we have them, puts them all at $5,900. Boy calls, I'm driving into work like fucking jamming out. Boy calls me like, what's up, dude? He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like,
I remember.
what do you
I'm
mean?
going to work.
He
What
goes,
are you doing?
He goes, you're fucking the whole smart car market up. I was like,
We own only 6 and
Nobody ever in the history of the car
he goes,
business.
he goes, you and I, we have all the smart cars kids. He goes, yours are 5,900. He goes, mine are 8,900. I was like, mine are 5,900. He goes, yes, they are. I get in the morning, my dad's like, those smart cars are going. I'm like, they've been here for less than a week. So I
You
had
didn't want him on the ramp.
he was big pissed.
Told you not to bring up smart cars, man. That's a touchy subject.
I just
I
remember.
love it though. It's my favorite. Dude,
Yeah.
Lizard still drives the wrong one.
Yeah,
Does he-
we had
no, he's definitely got that car. But He drove the wrong car for a whole year.
I know.
Good job,
I
Dre.
know. No, I remember. That wasn't me. I came in
that
with
was
that
a
problem.
Dre problem.
I came in. I'm
Actually,
so,
that's probably him.
Nope.
No,
Nope.
that
It was
was,
one of you guys.
that was-
So,
that's
I
probably
came
Cindy,
in and
actually.
at the bottom of our sheet, there's a red one. I'm like, what's this? Like, wrong car. I'm like, what do you mean wrong car? We sold the wrong car. I'm like,
They're all the same price, man. What else to do?
I'm just
Same
like,
year,
all
same price,
white,
same,
same miles.
same year, same price, same miles.
Jamie's like, don't
what do you
worry.
want us to do?
He's like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'm like, okay. Like 3 months go by. I'm like, Jamie, this is still red on my sheet. He's like, it's
Still not
fine.
finished.
I'm like, no, dude, my sheet's green and white, and that's red.
this guy's the wrong car. We don't know where the other car's at. Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, we
Yeah.
got that fixed. We traded him out. Of that thing.
Yeah,
That was a wild one.
That was a while.
pretty much my
For a whole year, he drove that.
For a
fucking
whole
thing.
year.
My main
He drove
key
the
was
whole year
if
wrong,
Jamie
wrong
and my
car.
dad said not to buy something, I'm like, that's a good
I'm
buy.
not buying that.
That's a buy.
I'm buying it.
Still-
H1
still to this day.
Hummers.
What was the 81? Chrysler?
No, you're talking about the 81 fucking Ford Escort.
There was that. No,
No,
there
I
was
bought
a
that
four-door
sick Lincoln.
There
That
was a
Lincoln.
four-door burgundy like Chrysler that you showed up. It was like an
Oh, shit.
84. They had like
shit. No,
42,000
no,
miles.
that
on
was-
it.
that was not it.
No,
not
that was the
84.
bourbon.
Oh, the burp. No, he's talking about the Chrysler.
Oh, the Windsor.
Yeah. That was like a 54.
No. I remember that one on the showroom floor. There was like an 84 square body, had a big old Chrysler medallion off the top of it.
Yeah, that was like a 54
Yeah.
Windsor.
I bought that, and then I remember when I
What
was at
didn't
the
Dane
sale.
buy?
I was at the sale, and there's just like
That's a
90.
good question.
There's like a 91. What was it? Is it Chrysler New Yorker?
That's
It
what
was
it
a
was.
New Yorker, yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
This thing pulls in. I'm like looking. I'm like, this ain't clean. And you know the easiest way to get a dealer to buy something is throw all the paperwork in the front seat. I'm like, it's got all the paperwork. It's a one owner.
That'd be a good deal.
It's a one owner.
It's a one owner. It's only got 48,000 miles on
Yeah.
it.
And I'm like,
Those
look-
seats. Those seats. It's a plush. Gotta have it.
I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'll pay $3,000 for that. And they start off like $800. I'm like, $800. That's a deal. I'm like, then all of a sudden I'm like at $1,200, and they're like sold, and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I came back and my dad's like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, go look at how nice that. There ain't a bit of rust on it. That's worth $1,200 by itself.
That was right before I.
That's so funny because he would bust your balls, and I just brought when he said 80 something. I'm like, oh, he's talking about the Escort that Dirt bought. I didn't make it from the auction to the dealership.
Oh, he would sit there and he would say, don't buy anything that's wrecked. Don't buy anything that needs work. I'm like, okay, we go sell. And he's like, I need something under $10,000. I buy this nice New Yorker that doesn't need I think it had less than a $200 fucking service bill. Clean as a button. New Michelin's.
Gentry.
Yeah.
Gentry, that's where you
had
that's
new
where you
Michelin's
Gentry.
on it. And
I
that
like
thing
the
goes
Ling Walls
right through
myself.
service. $4,900 car, it's gone like that.
Yeah.
So that's what he's looking for. But then he goes to the sale and he was like, hey, we need stuff that's cheaper. And he comes back with stuff that's damn near totaled out. I'm like, what is that? It's going to take us 3 months to get it ready. But
I have no idea what you're talking. I don't know what you're talking about.
Give me one of the bullets. But
Good stuff.
yeah, it was.
Oh,
Those were the party bus. When we bought the party bus,
Dude.
that was a deal.
Tyson still has the party bus.
I tried to buy it from him. He didn't text me back, so I bought my other bus. If he would text me back, I would have bought that from him that
He
weekend.
probably sold it to a semi guy and tore the seats out and used it as a hauler or something.
That it was a 7.3 with like 80,000 miles
I
on
remember
it.
that.
That's the only reason I bought
What
it.
are you doing? I'm like, he's like 7.3 with 80,000. Motor's worth what you just paid. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
We'll
I'm
figure it
not
out. We
gonna
always
say.
do.
I'm not gonna say what I paid for that on here.
What,
It
your
was a
bus?
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one? The current bus or the,
The
last?
current bus.
See, now that I have my own company, I can buy whatever the fuck I want.
Don't have
I was
to
looking at
admit
buying
you.
a helicopter.
This shit doesn't even run half the time. It
Yeah.
just goes in the dealership.
I want to buy
Use it
I
as
want
a
to buy a
hangout
broken down
studio.
helicopter and put it up
Yeah,
top. in
we
the
have a
office.
bus that doesn't run.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's inside your dealer, or I call it. Sorry,
Yeah.
inside your office.
Yeah, and it makes about a 6-point turn.
I did put some really big tires on it. That
And
Oh,
when
you
I
have
said,
a drivable bus that doesn't run.
well,
we have a bus
it-
that's not drivable with
it is
wheels and
drivable.
tire.
Are we talking about the one that's
Easy.
inside your office?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's a
Easy
very nice
cut.
bus, though.
It is nice.
Have you seen the front tires on it?
Who gives a shit?
They touch the wheel well.
It's inside of a building. Who cares?
You see how sick it looks?
It's got every jersey. Of
Bro, the
every
wheels and
person's ever
tires are
played
worth
football.
more than the bus.
Practical.
Yeah. Dude,
I'm really disappointed though that I have not been a part of a podcast inside of that.
we haven't really podcasted it.
I know, which I thought was supposed to happen.
That
guys.
you're gonna have to talk to Logan.
Logan,
So do you want to know the actual
you look
thought,
like you're yawning over there. How busy are you?
you want to know the
Come on, Mike.
actual thought process behind the bus? So
You always wanted a bus.
no,
A short bus.
true.
We always, every time we got a bus,
I,
we had to sell the bus.
I saw Dre got picked up on one his whole life. And I never knew what the inside of one looks like.
That's not funny, dude. That's actually pretty messed up. Because I rode the same bus you did.
Speechless.
That's not funny. That's not funny.
That's pretty funny.
Dude, oh my god.
So
But it makes so much sense of the stories of you being a kid with it.
so the bus
You're
was
lucky you're like,
I don't even know what to say because it's like, one, you shouldn't call people that ride a short bus.
oh,
2,
I didn't know this was
I
floating
never
out.
rode a short bus.
Trey wants to justify.
I rode an average sized bus.
It was big to him. Okay. Just like other things.
Everything's big to him.
I'm laughing way too hard. So no, when we got the bus, so the week before that, we lost a really, really big fucking account, and it wasn't due to us. It was
Due to
kind
the
of
bus?
It was due to me,
Not having a bus.
but we had an account that was doing really, really well for a long period of time.
Gross of 24% year over year.
Increase of 24%.
Increase of 24%.
Over year over year.
Year over
Yes.
year.
So this company's doing absolutely
Every 4 years,
phenomenal.
that's 100%.
Absolutely like killing it. I knew the owner did not do tattoos, beards, everything else like that.
Luckily, you two can't grow beards.
Plus,
But
I wore long sleeves to those meetings for 9 months, and one day I finally sat there and I was like, I'm not being someone I'm not to have an account. So
that's
we had
one thing I will let. You've always been that way.
So I feel like for a while, I felt like having that account, I was I never had like imposter syndrome, but I felt like I had it then. I was being somebody I wasn't to have an account. So I was like, you know what? I'm going in a t-shirt today and jeans, cowboy boots, exactly who the fuck I am. And if they don't want to work with us, they don't work with us. So I had a cancellation within a week. But it was something
Damn,
that,
maybe we don't play.
but it was something that when I looked at the team, I saw the repercussions to them. And I'm like, we did not lose that account from what you guys did. But it's really hard when everyone's looking at that.
Yeah.
Whole company's looking at that. And I see this cancellation come in that like they're done within the next 3 weeks, and I'm looking at it all, and I'm like, everyone's like hyper focusing on that. I'm like, I gotta get attention somewhere else. What if we put a bus in here? I'm like, and then Dre's like, we're going southbound on money, and you want to spend on a fucking bus and get a painter in here to paint it and everything. I'm like, yes.
When have you ever known him not to do something like that?
So I don't think you really fully understand the scope of the money.
Well, I mean,
It was a lot of fucking money.
I-
Yeah,
I-
so and
I understand.
The next day after
When have you ever known your dad or your brother to
when
not do
he
something
came
like that?
in with the bus, I will say I was under the fucking bus helping cut out bolts the next day.
Right?
True. Yeah.
Okay.
So no, he was underneath holding
what
them,
were
and
you-
I had
what
the
were
angle
they-
grinder.
So the
up top.
seats,
okay.
The bus is what, from the 80s?
No, it's not that old. It's a 2002.
No.
Yes, we have the title. It's 2002.
I don't think it is.
You actually have the title to it. All right.
Yeah, it's a Duramax. Yeah. Okay.
Duramax that doesn't run.
Hunter,
Yeah.
It does run. Ricky drove it there. And it
some
needs a
exhaust
battery.
work.
If we sell the motor, it doesn't need any kind of exhaust work.
Yeah, we sell the motor. I'll be back to break
So
even.
the seats, it was a church bus.
Those
The
are the best.
seats,
Good juju for the office.
the seats were rusted, and then under the bus they put the spray foam. After it rusted, they spray foamed it. so
Shame
they
on
wouldn't-
that church.
They wouldn't get
Shame on them. For
any more
putting people
rust
in
on it.
harm's way.
Apparently, yeah, those bolts don't come out. So we
Well,
literally
safe, I guess.
we cut the bottom of all the seats off. So then we angle grind.
Who's we?
Grinded.
I angle grinded and cut all them seats.
I didn't want the bus.
I didn't want
So-
to.
We
So
he
it
had
is
no
we.
part of that shit.
I didn't.
The
want
podcast.
I didn't want
the
the bus.
podcast went a different route right now.
Yeah.
All right, so
got
we
the
really,
bus.
hey, just
Scotty,
Scotty,
where are you from again?
One
We're gonna
extra
end this right
Kansas.
now. The bus is badass.
Yes.
One day we will all do a podcast in the bus.
That's
all
true.
the jerseys. It's awesome. The bus is not taking you under. Shut up, Dre. Stop.
Yeah.
It's not the one, okay? That's not the
I know that's not what's gonna send us under. If the bus sent us under, we have a lot bigger issues.
Yes. Thank
Oh my
you.
god,
Stop.
it's like he heard that from me.
Yeah.
Like he literally just fucking said the same thing back that I told him.
I'm pretty sure that's the exact
Yeah.
same thing you said about the Corvette.
Hey, we can laugh about this because that was about a year ago.
I literally told Dre sitting there, he's like, bro, he's freaking out. I'm like, dude, if that fucking bus takes us down, we got a lot bigger problems.
So
bud."
he keeps saying that about every single thing. And then I'm like, you know,
Now
a
we
whole
got
bunch of
bus,
breadcrumbs make it
We got
low.
Mercedes. We got. Hey,
I mean, if a second
if we can't
location
figure out how to
takes
fucking
us
make
down.
those payments, what the fuck is wrong with
That's how I sold him on when we pulled the trigger on the crossroads. He's like, we still have a lease on the River Market. I was like, dude, if 5,500 on the River Market takes us down, we got bigger problems. He's
Dane
like,
is the luckiest.
I love it's
Dude,
your fucking
dude,
go-to on
he's-
everything.
He's straight up the luckiest dude alive because he got out of a 3-year lease of them buying us out.
Have you ever known him not to come
I'm
up
just
like
like,
that?
yeah. I'm like, what are the odds?
Keep
What
pressing.
are the odds?
Keep pressing every day. And shit happens.
Have you ever known that not to happen for him though?
I don't know why he doesn't buy lottery tickets.
Because that's he doesn't have control of the lottery.
Yeah. Hey,
He has control
Hey,
on fucking.
He didn't have control of the River Market
He
location.
sure did.
No,
Yeah.
he didn't.
Yeah, you know
knew
what
it
does
was
happen?
He knew that there was a way.
You know what does happen is
Not the
everything
moment
that
we
you
got
do,
rid of it.
everything that you do in life, if you focus on good things happen to good people, and you put out good in the fucking world, good comes back. Why do I do as
When
much as I do with
years old,
Pal?
if you're saying the same shit, I swear to God, you must be right.
And you're gonna be sitting there and you're like, this motherfucker's got
He's gotta be
jets and
right.
everything.
He's gotta
else.
be right.
He finally maybe figure something out.
If the 18th Ferrari is the one that takes us down, I swear to God.
That's the one that's the problem.
Yeah.
But
We're gonna have to offload
Who's
the
the
18.
newest guy you have at the MMG right now? Who's the newest employee?
So we actually hired 3.
Why did
We
I-
hired 3 last time we onboarded.
So those 3. I don't know their names. I will learn their names. But right now, if those 3 Ferraris bought for those guys are the ones that take us down, we fucked up somewhere else. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's been the story of your life ever since I've known you.
See,
It
my deal
works.
is I'll sink the ship, fucking buying shit for everybody around me.
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
fine with
what
it.
was the deal we saw in Landman? The quote.
There's
Mick Ultra's not actually alcohol. That's my favorite. That's my
That's
favorite
the
thing.
main thing to take
Yes.
on it.
I'm like, Mick Ultra's not actual alcohol, so I can drink these all day
It's on
long.
a TV
so
show.
Landman, he says, he goes, there's 2
Whiskey-
people in life.
Whiskey makes you do bad things, but Mick Ultras are fine.
You've been drinking whiskey.
Facts.
I'm not an alcoholic. Hey, can I get some more of that, bro?
Yeah.
Thanks. Man.
There's 2 people in life. There's people that learn how to balance a checkbook. There's people that learn how to make enough money that they never have to learn how to do number 1.
I like that idea.
I will say, I literally was watching that at like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, that's 100%.
Billy
accurate.
Bob's pretty smart.
That's like
Everything I've heard from him on this show is pretty smart thing.
It's actually, I think, one of the top downloaded TV shows or top streamed TV shows. In the world.
Logan said it's doing pretty good. So
Logan said it's
everyone's
doing
talking
good.
about it. It's doing pretty good.
Doing pretty good.
All right, we needed Scotty back to be able to finish this out.
Yeah, we can finish it. Oh, we did have one thing we haven't talked about yet, though. You wanted to tell us a little bit more about the Cybertruck.
Oh, no, I think we've had too many drinks to
Get
get
in,
anything.
dude.
We don't want to go
out of
that.
that.
We're not going down that rabbit hole. Okay,
Do
good.
you guys think aliens build pyramids?
No, I actually watched how the pyramids were built that night.
I don't think we've all listened to enough.
What did I just walk back into?
Well,
So
that-
did aliens
that bourbon bottle
do
was
or
full.
not?
What was
It's
I
not-
just? I was just watching something.
About aliens building pyramids?
No, it was.
Sure, because this isn't actually alcohol.
It was people moving something, like a huge group of people that came together to move something.
Dude, I don't know what you watching.
I don't know. It was a TikTok that there was like. literally
Oh, it
hundreds-
was TikTok.
it was like hundreds.
Factual.
It was like hundreds of people moving. Like
Yeah, they were showing how they built the
Yeah.
pyramids
no, it wasn't
with
on
the little.
No, this was like
little
something.
logs.
This was something that
The little
They were-
forklifts. You know,
Hey,
in the
I'm gonna throw this out there, and
excavators.
we're gonna get hated on.
that the bulldozer out there.
What is this? What the fuck is
That's
this?
what you were doing.
The little spaceship that was picking the rocks up and putting it in place.
What the fuck is this? Is all I know.
That's
What is
what
this?
No, they had something where they were like moving all this shit, and it was like in today's world, and then everyone like all the comments were like, we've just explained how the pyramids were made, and it was just like all these people could move.
Just so we all know,
I don't know
pyramids
what
were
the fuck it
made
was.
because they're in the middle of the desert, right? Before the pyramids were made, the desert was here. Now the desert's here, and the pyramids are here, right?
Where's all the
They
stone?
just fucking dug it all.
Where's
out.
all the stone?
There's no stone. It's just
You
desert.
think they dug that out?
No,
You think
I'm
they-
saying,
dug out.
what are the pyramids made of?
wild thought. Wild.
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
That's a new one. The pyramids are dug out. No,
They're actually inverted, dude.
He said it used to be here. No,
Erosion. You never
it's-
heard of it?
dude. That's Atlantis.
Told you.
It's Atlantis. Holy shit.
Where did all the stones come from?
There's no stones. Where the fuck do you see stones?
The pyramid.
Is it stone?
Yeah.
Have you been
Multiple
there?
stones.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
Lots of stones.
Or is it just
That's-
carved to look like a stone? I don't
What
know.
have you been watching, dude?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Oh my god.
Jamie.
I thought I could get up for a second.
Yeah, that's what I'd
He looks
say
so
too.
scared.
That's what I'd say too.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
no, that inverted almost got you on it.
He looks scared for a second.
The fuck?
Xavier, wherever you want to cut this off, feel free, bud. I think we've lost it. Whatever we're at the beginning.
Dude, that is 100% Jamie right there. We just did. Oh no, I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding.
Yeah.
Well, it's a
You were-
Dude, I totally
It
know
was
his
just a
brother's
sale.
cousin's wife.
It was
That's
just
my
a sale.
card.
It was just a sale. Just wanted to see what you would do.
Yeah, man. I was totally agreeing with you, but
Has
you were
great
joking.
airbags though. Are you a big airbag?
The airbags
I
build
gotta find what
pyramids
your
now.
button is. I
Yeah.
guess with that.
Hey, you know what Dre's button is? His heads up display.
Has
Look at these yellow
100%.
guys.
had heads up display. Look, they're huge.
Hey,
Heads up,
yeah,
there's a
I will
pyramid
say,
coming.
the Raptors now
Heads
heads
up,
up
the
display,
pyramids
so
are
I am more inclined to get a Raptor now.
Why?
I said I was more inclined to get a Raptor now that they have heads up display.
The next podcast I do, I'm gonna make someone come on there that is buying a Raptor that should be here by next week when I get back.
If you can get him on here,
I'll get him on here.
fuck, be my guest. I've been trying.
I know you have.
I have
It really hurts my feelings that he doesn't. Like, where is he? Well, he won't do a podcast, so he can't come.
He was pretty mad about our first event that he couldn't come to. I'm like, motherfucker, I've asked you to be on here like fucking
Do I know this
50.
person?
Yes, you know.
Oh
him.
yeah.
Okay.
I've asked him a lot of times.
You're selling him a Raptor.
That's what I thought.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I was confused because you said next week. I'm like, no, 25th through the 31st. But
That's
Yeah.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, I lied to him.
I check it every day.
I told him today that. Yeah, it should be- it
Hopefully
should
he
be here
watches
before I
this
get home.
podcast Monday.
I check it every day.
Yeah. This podcast will be dropping on Monday. You're going to find out your Raptors not coming this week.
It's one that says BJ.
Surprise!
Yep.
Jamie likes it.
You think he watches our podcast at least? Or I should say your guys is just the number one podcast.
I mean, I'm just
That's
I'm
big.
part of
Jamie's
it
like,
now.
Jamie, now it's in Jay Park.
Ours. I know you've done 200 or whatever it is, but I've been on 5. So
Hey,
I'm
you
just
can
like,
host your own podcast. We can take care of it.
Yeah, I ain't got that kind. I ain't got that kind.
It's gotten hot here.
It's bourbon, but
It's not.
No,
It's
like,
not.
Are you okay?
yeah, I'm fine. It's just got
Last
warm. I
time you
was
started
laughing.
weirding out like that, you had to go to the ER really fast.
Yeah, I don't have any nose or any blood coming out of my
You got
nose.
your
Well,
coin on you?
there-
You got your coin on you?
Last time we were at the auction, something weird shit like happened like that. You also went to the ER.
That's true. Maybe I just go to the ER around you.
You know,
Hold
I'm
on.
think Dane
That
actually
could be
goes to
true.
the ER for the worst things. Nosebleed. What was it? Your stomach?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, his
No big
stomach
deal.
the other
Do
day.
you want to
no
talk
biggie.
about? Do you want to talk about the time
We've already
ER?
talked about it.
at the
Wait,
auction?
I have a. Oh, the pod or at the auction.
That's kind of a weird one.
I got to where I couldn't move.
I will say this guy, if he goes to the ER, he's really fucked up.
Yeah, but
And
but
she's the only person that's every time he goes to the ER, it's a fucking emergency.
But
He's
it-
gonna die.
but I will
They
say
called
Fucking
emergency
guy.
room for a reason.
But I will say
It
it's
should
for
be
the
emergency.
People go in there for
weirdest thing.
colds. He's like, holy shit, you actually almost died.
it's for the weirdest thing. It's like broken arm. It's like get
I'm
into my
good.
doctor.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll
It's
see you
like
on Monday.
nosebleed. Probably go to the ER.
Well,
You know
probably
what?
the gallon of blood that came out with the
Dude,
nosebleed
that's
that
like
night.
when I went to the ER last week. I would get there and everyone there is just like chilling. Like I'm like, everyone in here looks fucking fine. Why are they at the ER? Like, go see your family doctor. Like,
You went to ER last week?
yeah, I was in the hospital for a half day last week.
Or what?
Yeah, Jamie. You know what we call those? Part timers.
Or-
Part time.
Was it Monday through Friday?
Do what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or excuse me, Monday
it was
through
actually
Saturday?
Monday. It was Monday.
No,
right?
it was not.
Was it Tuesday?
Thursday.
Thursday for a
Last
Thursday
Thursday.
morning meeting. Dane literally had to miss. I do the meeting, and then Dane gets
I get
back
to the-
in.
so
Or
get the-
Friday, I'm sitting there. I'm like, welcome back, part timer.
Ah, there you go, bud.
So,
We got a heart attack, you pussy.
So-
Come to work.
so this, it was the second that we were going in. That night, I wake up at like 2:00 in the morning. I start throwing up. I wake up and I'm like, my stomach's like turning. So I start throwing up through the night. I get up at like get up. I start off throwing up upstairs. I go downstairs so like Madison could sleep. I'm dry
In
heaving
a different
downstairs.
toilet.
I'm dry heaving in our bathroom downstairs. And finally, at like 6 o'clock, I'm like, I'm just gonna get ready to head to the office. Like we're gonna have a meeting in the morning. So dry heaving in the toilet downstairs. I burst blood vessels in my eyes, burst blood vessels inside my face, and I'm like, this is not slowing down. And so then I go upstairs. I get ready. I go throw up in the front yard. Get in the truck. I make it to the office. Throw up 3 times at the office.
I get to
And
the
they're all-
office. It's like 8 o'clock. I look at Dane. I'm like, our meeting's at 8:30, 9?
9. So
9. I get there like 8:15. I look at Dane. I'm like, you look like shit, bro. He's like,
so
I've been throwing up all night. I'm like,
I get to
you
the
should
office.
fucking leave.
Hold on. How many employees do you have right now?
Probably almost 40,
40.
30 something.
You're the second fucking employee that MMG had in your. Don't even know what time your meeting is on Mondays.
This is Thursday.
What a
This is
target.
Thursday.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, you're number 2. Oh, I apologize.
No, this is
I apologize. You
Thursday.
weren't even number. That's because I won't let you go. I remember that. Yes.
So-
Good job, buddy. Sorry.
No, this
It was
is
fine. I apologize.
Thursday.
Thank
Monday
you.
morning meeting.
Number 3.
Monday
Number
morning
3.
meetings are always at 8.
Cody?
What?
Cody number 3? Okay.
No, Monday morning meetings are always at 8:30. But it was after our 5-day weekend, so we're coming in having
New
a
Year's. We gave 2 5-day weekends. Great boss award.
yeah. So what Dane do? He wanted a 6th
How bored
day.
were they? I mean, 5 days.
Dude,
off.
I
What
was
do you do with
I was
5 days
bored
off?
out of my mind.
Yeah, what do you do with 5 days off?
What?
So
Never
we
had 5 days.
I
What's that like?
the first 5-day weekend, Saturday I went in. My second day I went in and painted a wall in the office. I'm like, I literally have nothing to do.
Still paying that long.
he's still
I'm
our
like, I
payment.
have nothing to do, so I went and painted a wall. I'm like, I don't know what to do with 5 days.
Yeah, but
All right. Sorry.
people are coming in the office. I get to the office. I vacuum everything. I get all the lights on. New office has like 4,000 lights to turn on. I put lamps on like every desk. I turn on all the lamps. Get all the TVs on. I get the whole 9 going. And it's like I'd been
While
there.
you're throwing up.
So I've been there the whole day before, 2 days before that. I've been there for 2 days straight with the electrician, get outlets put behind every TV, getting all the TVs hung, making sure everything's like ready for this first meeting of the year.
It's the launch of the new office.
Yeah. So I've been working for days, getting it all ready, cleaning, the whole 9. The guys been
draping the wall.
not that office.
Not
that was
that
the old
sorry,
office.
sorry.
But
Other office.
My fault.
It's okay. Just don't let him.
but
do
then
it.
everyone's rolling in. They're like, "Man, you look like shit. You look like shit." Thank you.
Thank you.
Madison's texts me. She's like, "How are you feeling?" I'm like, "Not very good." And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I think if I even tried to drive home, my throw up window is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I'm dry heaving now like every like 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm like, my insides are starting to feel pressure. And I'm like, that's all I need to do is die from like an appendix or something stupid. Like
So
Cool.
dramatic, dude. You could have.
That would
it
be
out.
so fitting for you
Oh, it
guys.
would, yeah.
You and your guys' family. Though.
yeah, it would just be the most random.
How
off the
Dane
wall-
died? Well, you know, his appendix burst.
Yeah. You just
So
throwing
his
up
dad
in the
called him
office.
a pussy, so he's he just fucking dealt with it.
Yeah. So I was sitting there at the office. I'm like, I'm having a lot of internal pressure. I'm like, my eyes
Something's
are like,
not right.
my eyes are like
Throwing up
bloodshot.
800
10 ways to
times.
Tuesday. Whole right side of my face is all red. And I was like, I'm gonna have this 9 o'clock meeting, then I'm gonna head to the ER. I told Madison, I was like throwing up at like 8:20, and I walk out. I told Dre, I'm like, I'm fucking leaving. I'm heading straight to ER now.
So
Yeah.
he leaves. Then I'm sitting there. I'm like, everyone's already showing up at the office. I'm like, hey. Adam's like, you got this? I'm like, guess so.
Look at Adam.
Guess so, bud. I'm like, Dan's gonna have a good hype meeting. Guess I'm just gonna let everyone know what's going on.
New office, real cool. Lights are on. I'll see you guys
I'm
later.
like, new office. We're gonna have a great year, and whenever kind of maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I was like, all right, guys.
Yeah.
Sounds about like a Dre meeting. All right, I like it. Killed it.
Dane's a hype guy.
Killed it. So
But,
what was wrong with you?
so they tested me for everything. I didn't have that, and they're like, "Do you have any food or anything that you think was wrong?" I was like, "Nah." I was like, just some sort of viral infection. I was like,
Anytime
Yeah.
anytime Dane gets sick, he always blames on Panera because he had Panera within like 40.
"I'll tell you what, Panera, I'm gonna fucking
It used-
target you."
Dude, it's
Dude.
not like it used to be, okay?
It's
Yeah.
not.
You're not. I'm gonna call out too. I got a bread bowl soup the other day, and there was no fucking bread bowl. Just the bowl. What the fuck?
No soup. No soup.
Fuck you guys.
They gave me a loaf of fucking bread.
I didn't. Yeah, what the
There's no
fuck?
goddamn soup in my bread.
I just got,
I
got a
fucking
loaf
bread
of bread.
You know what I'm talking about?
Just got a loaf of bread.
What the fuck?
We are not sponsored by goddamn Panera in this one, I'm telling you.
Yeah. I don't know what it was.
I love how Jamie's like, we, man, this is our podcast.
I'm sorry.
We are
It
not
has
sponsored.
nothing to do with the fucking bourbon
Keep on
or these beers.
telling you to drink.
Sorry. Thanks.
All
Appreciate
right.
you.
Yep.
We better wrap this up. Yeah, we
All
already
right.
lost a
We're
couple
losing cameras.
I gotta leave
so-
I'm flying out in like less than 12
Yeah.
hours.
Where are
Perfect.
you going?
Yeah, that's the M3 podcast. So
Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.